Welcome back to Politics Nation. The midterm elections are now just 80 days away. And in Nevada's 4th congressional district, one that is historically blue and only flipping red one time in its 12-year history, pollsters are now calling it a toss-up election. That is in part due to a Republican nominee, Sam Peters' support from former President Trump and his allies. Incumbent Democrat Stephen Horsford is vying for a 3rd term come this November. He joins me now. First of all, Congressman, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Reverend Al. Always good to be on your show.
Now, Congressman Horsford, your opponent, Sam Peters, has received a nod from Trump as well as official endorsement from some of his biggest supporters, including Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs and Paul Gosar. In kind with Trump, Peters has denied the 2020 presidential election results in Nevada, despite the Nevada Supreme Court finding zero evidence of Trump's claims. And Peters has now called on the Nevada Secretary of State to remove electronic voting machines for the upcoming midterm national Republicans, from the upcoming midterm elections. National Republicans are hoping for a pickup here, despite a historic Democratic advantage. I mean, what's your response to the Trump party embracing your opponent, and how do you think that affects voter sentiment come this November?
Well, Reverend Al, in 79 days, we will win re-election to Nevada's 4th district because my constituents want someone who is going to continue to fight to reduce cost of living, create good paying jobs, and make our community safer. And that's what I've focused my time doing. Instead, my opponent, who is an extreme Republican supported by the former president, he's an election denier, would not support the fact that Donald Trump did not win the 2020 election and did not win it in Nevada. He also supports efforts to defund Social Security, and he wants to deny women the freedom to make their own health care decisions. Those are policies that are out of the mainstream from the majority of the people in Nevada's 4th district. And I'm proud to have represented this district and to have grown up in this district fighting for the needs of everyday Nevadans who are relying on someone who's going to represent them in Washington, D.C.
Now, this Tuesday, President Biden signed a $750 billion climate, health care, and tax bill into law. The bill has been called the most ambitious legislation passed on climate in the nation's history, as it could cut U.S. emissions by 40% by the end of the decade. You have said that due to climate change, excessive heat and drought are impacting Nevada like never before, which is leading to heightened risk of deadly wildfires across your state. How will the Inflation Reduction Act help combat the environmental issue your state is facing and support Nevada's growing clean energy sector?
Well, I was proud to vote for the Inflation Reduction Act because, as you said, it makes a historic investment on addressing the climate crisis in my state of Nevada. That's the wildfires. And it's also a historic drought that we are facing. In that Inflation Reduction Act is $4 billion of funding that we help to secure to address the drought in the West, as well as to reduce cost for Nevadans, everything from lowering prescription drug costs, including my provision to cap out-of-pocket costs for seniors annually at $2,000 and to cap insulin for Medicare beneficiaries at $35. It also makes sure that we are protecting people under the Affordable Care Act so that they have lower cost premiums, and it actually pays down the deficit with a $264 billion of funding to help reduce the deficit. So while my opponent and Republicans in Congress are trying to deny women their freedoms to make their own health care decisions, I'm working to pass not only legislation to reduce cost, but to pass the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, passed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, including my bill to fund community violence intervention at historic amounts so that we can reduce crime, save lives, and break the cycle of violence.
Congressman, you are the first vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and the 4th District of Nevada, which you currently serve, has a diverse electorate across 7 different counties, with more than half of the district's voters being people of color, and the largest proportion of that being black residents. But more than any other Nevada congressional district, there will no other people of color on the primary ballots this year. What is the significance of your campaign as a black American, hoping to continue serving the diverse communities that make up Nevada's 4th District?
Thank you for recognizing the diversity of Nevada's electorate. We are one of the most diverse congressional districts in the country and are continuing to change demographically. I represent one of the most diverse districts, both demographically and geographically. I have a part of Las Vegas and North Las Vegas, but I also have 5 counties throughout all of central Nevada, covering more than 50,000 square feet. And so it's important to me that I reflect the needs of all Nevadans from every corner of my district. That's why I have worked to secure funding for community funded projects in rural communities, helping to establish new hospitals, funding for broadband, making sure that we are actually addressing the internet divide that exists in both urban and rural areas. I recognize that as the first African-American elected to Congress for Nevada, I have a great responsibility to meet the needs of my constituents, and that means serving every corner of our district. And that is what the people of Nevada's 4th have chosen in previous elections, and they don't want an extreme representative like the one I'm running against, or those who are controlling efforts in Congress to deny women the freedom to make their own healthcare decisions or other protections, including the right to vote.
All right, and we'll have to leave it there. Thank you, Congressman Stephen Horsford. Thank you for being with us.